Republican leadership in the Senate discussing the beginnings of the rules that would govern an impeachment trial. Now, one thing that might draw the ire of the president, the witnesses the Senate will or won't call. Joining me now, Republican Conference Chairman, Wyoming Senator John Barrasso. Great to have you with us, Senator.
Thanks for having me, Shannon.
Okay, so how does this work, as far as you can tell for us at this point? Who decides if folks like Adam Schiff or Hunter Biden are going to be called to testify?
Well, the Senate will decide, but first, Shannon, today is the day that the Democrat impeachment car ran out of gas. You saw it. They don't have the evidence, and they don't have public support. There are not 20 Republican senators who would vote to remove the president. We are united, and you see it in the House side as well. The best they could come up with were 6 words in terms of the articles of impeachment. It is astonishing that they have continued to obstruct legislation for over a year with this obsession with impeachment, and it's not going anywhere.
Okay, so I think you and I have talked about these whispers around Washington that, oh, there are Republican senators who are going to break and vote against the Senate, against the president. Are you saying tonight you don't think you'll lose a single one?
Well, that's hard to say. The Democrats from the House will come and make their case in the Senate. People want to listen to hear what they have to say. But we are united. I mean, people are very offended at the way that this whole thing has played out, the lack of due process and fairness for the president, and basically the lack of evidence. So the Senate will get together, convene, decide as this goes through the process, and there are lots of different discussions about how long it will take. But I will tell you, when the final Jeopardy question is asked, I know that the president will still be in office.
Okay, any Democrats you think might cross over with you in the Senate and stay with the Republicans and vote against removing the president?
Well, there are a couple that may. We're also seeing that in the House. I think, you know, the House Republicans are united. The House Democrats are divided. Some of them are talking about censure because they don't want to vote for impeachment. But this has been a completely partisan exercise, Shannon. This has been partisan from day one. The Democrats have been after President Trump from before he even became president. They were talking about impeachment before he took the oath of office.
Well, there's some who think that the Senate trial, if it happens, is going to be a sham and it's going to be partisan to the benefit of the president. Here is Chuck Todd and his take on what he thinks you guys are cooking up.
It is looking clearer and clearer to me that we are not going to, I think we're not going to have a real trial. Yep. Because the White House is going to set up a straw man of what they think is fair that includes, you know, all the Bidens testifying. How do we end up, does this thing get, I think it gets Merrick Garland.
Meaning, of course, President Obama's Supreme Court nominee who didn't get to a vote in the Senate. What do you make of that characterization of what you guys are planning?
Well, we're going to listen to the evidence that the House has to present, the articles of impeachment. House members will come over and make that presentation. The president will be able to make his defense. And I think at that point we'll say, do people have enough information to vote in terms of impeaching and removing the president from office? And I think at that time, the majority of the Senate will say, yes, I'm ready to vote. So we don't need additional witnesses at that time. But we are united at what has been a completely partisan effort against this president. And if there's been any obstruction of justice, it's not been by the president. It's been by the Democrats in the Senate in terms of abuse of the powers that they have, because they've been using those to hurt the president in our efforts to get things done to move the country ahead.
Okay, to that point, very quickly, I want to ask you about USMCA. The House leadership saying today it's moving forward. Senator McConnell saying, nope, probably not until after a Senate impeachment trial. One of the people on the press team for House Speaker Nancy Pelosi called that nonsense, saying that this thing should get moving.
Well, if they send impeachment over first, we're going to have to deal with impeachment first. That's the way the system works. I'm ready to vote for USMCA. Look, the president has threaded the needle here on what is likely to be the largest bipartisan trade deal in history. This just adds to the good things that are happening in the economy. It builds on the 7 million jobs we have in this economy since President Trump took office. We have the lowest unemployment rates right now in 50 years. Wages are up. People have more money to spend, to save, to decide what to do with. USMCA is a part of this strong, healthy, and growing economy that is benefiting all Americans.
And Democrats will argue that that's why it needs to move quickly. We'll watch and see what gets to your tables there first for a vote in the Senate. Senator Barrasso, good to see you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Shannon.